Happy New Year. Good to see everyone here. First session of the new year. If you need to adjust your angle, to make it more comfortable to take in the Dharma talk, please do so with your posture as well. Hopefully everything is okay online. You can hear and see me okay. So what a nice way to start the year with our chant service right off the bat, and then a nice environment to sit in tonight. As I was walking in, I noticed the lights are on in the shrine room upstairs, which takes up the whole 4th floor, and we had these drums beating for most of our little sitting period there, which felt really great. I wonder if they're going to be here for the rest of the year on this Monday night, but I hope so. It's really nice. But we've got the rain pattering outside and occasional cars and traffic going by. But just a lovely evening, to gather and reconvene for our Sangha practice in this year. So we just met 2 weeks ago, but it feels like a lot longer than that to me. Yeah, to you too, right? It was last year, we had the holidays and all sorts of stuff, I'm sure a lot has gone on with families and friends and relations, and lots going on in the world, as it always seems to be happening now, with ever accelerating, things going on. So I think it's time to strap in. I don't think anything's settling down anytime soon. Anytime soon. So, that's where our practice really comes in as an essential quality, an essential resource, an essential refuge, for us in these times. I don't know what I would do without practice and specifically without the 3 treasures, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, to give me a basis, a foundation, for my life, actually. It gives me a path, and it gives me meaning, a meaningful path of life, of living. So what I want to talk about today in my Dharma talk, a couple of weeks ago was the final meeting of the year, and it was more of a look back. I encouraged us to do some reflection and review, maybe some account taking, you might have been doing on your own. Also atonement. Looking back is about atonement and really owning and becoming one with our own actions, the karma that we've created, to really embrace it and accept it as how we've shown up in the world, and reflect on whether you want to show up differently. But the most important thing is to accept it, is to really accept everything that you've done in your life. So now we're at the beginning of the year, and it's time to look ahead. So this is the realm of intention and aspiration and vow. So I want to give us a little bit of a framework for that, for looking forward. So I want to talk about the 3 treasures, and I want to talk about Bodhicitta, which has been translated a number of ways. I like the translation of the way-seeking mind, but I'll share some more about it too. So this is about what inspires us. What's inspiring us to do this? I'm going to encourage everyone in the group to think about their aspiration, their vows, their intentions with some specificity. And I think it's really helpful to do that on a seasonal basis. We have the opportunity to do that during Ango, which is the last 3 months of the year. And I think there's merit in doing that for every 3-month period. So I'm going to encourage everyone in the weeks ahead to think about what you'd like your practice to be like, the form of the practice, the commitments you'd like to make. And I think it's helpful to do that in the three areas of the three treasures. So Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, practice, study, and community. Yeah? So you can think, and I've worked with a couple of you already on your intentions in those areas. So you can have specific intentions and aspirations in the area of practice, in the area of study, and in the area of our Sangha activities. Yeah. And I will say that I have our board meeting with my board tomorrow night, and we've got ideas for a number of programs. So next week I'll be presenting, a little bit more in the way of some formal programs and structures that we'll be offering. So those will be the opportunities for you to do those things, practice, study, and do things in community. But I don't want you to wait for those in order for you to really feel into how you'd like to practice over the next 3 months. Our formal practice schedule is pretty much known, for the next 3 months. So in terms of our Zazenkais and our practice here and such is pretty well lined up. So I think everybody mostly knows that. Although I do see a new face or two here, so I'll give you all the information you need to jump in. Yeah, so to think about how you'd like to practice, in the next. But let's dig into this matter of bodhicitta and the three treasures. So there's actually a few ways to look at the three treasures that some of you have studied, in the past. And it turns out that actually the concept of bodhicitta is sort of the key to unlocking the Mahayana view of the three treasures versus the original Theravada view of the three treasures. So I'm going to go a little bit into kind of the history of these concepts in Buddhism and desire to kind of really flesh it out and bring it alive for us. So basically the Theravada and the Mahayana views, they share the same understanding of what the refuges are, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, but they do have a difference in the emphasis, and I think this is really important. So the Theravada, the original, you could say, going back to the earlier post-life of the Buddha practice, framed the three treasures as a commitment to one's own liberation, using the Buddha's path. Okay, so it's an individual liberation, whereas the Mahayana reframed refuge through the concept of bodhicitta, and that is about aiming at awakening for the sake of all beings and internalizing the three jewels, whereas the Theravada originally saw them more as externals, with Buddha pointing to the historical Buddha or the teacher themselves. We're now internalizing, you could say, the Buddha principle in terms of our own awakened nature. So I'll flesh it out a little bit more. The Theravada refuge was about escaping from samsara. A secure escape from samsara. Right? So the refuges were the door into being a Buddhist, a formal threshold, you could say, and it marked a decision to let the Dharma be the primary guide of one's life and conduct. Okay. So, I'm going to take this into the Mahayana and then into Zen form of Mahayana, but all of this Theravada stuff is really important. Like it starts there. It starts there. So to take the Dharma as the primary guide of your life. And take all three refuges, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, as the primary guide of your life. Primary guide of your life. We've got a lot of wisdom available to us now. Wisdom and wisdom available to us now, right? Wisdom from our parents, wisdom from our family lineages, wisdom from our culture, wisdom from professional communities, best practices, psychological insight. I'm a learner, you know, and I love frameworks and study and different discoveries that are made in all realms, you know, physics and psychology, neuroscience, all of that. But I can honestly say that I take the Dharma as the primary guide of my life. For my understanding and for my conduct, for my path. And it has never let me down. It has never proven to be a context in which I can't fit everything else that I learn about and, you know, validate for myself. It has a place. The Dharma has a place for it. So it's the most inclusive philosophy, body of practice, you know, wisdom tradition that I've encountered, and it's infinite and it covers the ground. It covers everything. So, Theravada, we take the refuges as the primary guide of one's life and conduct. So, but the core orientation is personal liberation. Right? We seek protection from the dangers of samsara by relying on Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha as trustworthy guides leading to nirvana. In this Theravadan view, the three jewels, the Buddha is the historical, fully enlightened teacher who discovered and taught the path. The Dharma is the teaching and the realized path, and the Sangha is chiefly the community of noble disciples and the monastic order preserving the Dharma. Okay. The Mahayana refuge. Okay. It fully accepts the triple refuge, but it goes a step further. The motivation is not only freedom from samsara for oneself, but it's awakening in order to liberate all sentient beings. So refuge becomes inseparable from bodhicitta. I'm going to get to say more about bodhicitta in a second, but maybe it's worth coming to it now. So it's a term for the enlightened mind. Bodhi, awakened Buddha, bodhicitta, mind, awakened mind. So it's the combination of wisdom, understanding the true nature of reality, and compassion, the commitment to save all sentient beings from suffering. So these two primary polarities, modalities of the Dharma, you could say, wisdom and compassion. So it's the heart mind of the Buddha, or the state of mind of the Bodhisattva. So the refuges become inseparable from bodhicitta, from this state of mind. One takes refuge so as to become a Buddha or a Bodhisattva who can serve as a refuge for the entire world, not just to secure one's own safety. So everybody in here has awakened bodhicitta. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. Looking back on my own path, I had a strong spark of interest in the Dharma, you know, in my early 20s, but then it was really, really fired up in my mid to late 20s as I came to experience some really deep disconnects within myself. As I approached my Saturn return at 27, 28 years old, things stopped making sense. Things stopped feeling connected for me, which is the way of our human existence, is for this to happen around that time of our lives. So having studied Buddhism a little bit and meditated a bit, when I experienced this affliction that I could not resolve within myself, and then I remembered that, oh, this is what the Buddha was talking about. All these books I've been reading about Buddhism, it's this, what I'm feeling right now is it. So this was the medicine, if you will. And so that's really what inspired me to really, join a Sangha, become a resident at the Zen Center of Los Angeles, and really, really commit to my path. I'll admit that my intention, my motivation at the beginning was really selfish. So the Bodhicitta part was really small. I was definitely probably more Theravadan in the motivation. It was about relief from my own suffering, and then wisdom and nirvana. Sure, I'll take those. Definitely sounds great. I'll give myself a little bit of credit, I guess, for the bodhicitta part of that, because I was drawn to practice with others. And so I know that at some level, I recognized that I wasn't separate from others. And I knew that, I could tell that while I sensed that I was the primary agent of my own suffering, I was creating most of it within myself, that myself was not separate from others. It was manifesting in relationship, and it was being healed in relationship, conscious relationship. So, a lot of people are, I think, some people are led into just a very private practice in order to kind of resolve these things. But that's not the Mahayana Buddhist way. It isn't. It is in community, that we do this. So I did have a bit of that at the beginning. And then as the more I practiced and the deeper my practice became, the more I recognized that it was all connected, that I could not separate my own suffering from others' suffering, and vice versa. I couldn't. So it all had to go together. It all had to go together. And then the path has been one of deepening that, right? Becoming more and more intimate in the ways in which myself and other people are in constant interconnection. How about you? How about you? Can you reflect on what your aspiration is now? How much of it is about yourself versus other people? When the first spark, arose, a spark of a desire to experience emptiness, experience oneness, as spoken about in the Buddhist teachings, to experience the deep reality of prajna, wisdom. And how about that spark of aspiration to relieve yourself and others of suffering? Yeah. I think now is a good time at the beginning of the year to reconnect with that aspiration. So we'll have some time later tonight after my talk, we can share some of that, and then next week we can share some of that too. Okay. So, okay. There's some technical stuff here I'm going to bypass. But I do want to say that, so the Mahayana is now really seeing the three treasures as ways of practicing bodhicitta. And Zen kind of really looks at the three treasures as internalization, okay, fully internalizing the three treasures. So we take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha of our own nature. Buddha as awareness, Dharma as truth, and Sangha as purity and harmony. I'll say that again. Buddha as our awareness, Dharma as truth, and Sangha as purity and harmony. So can we find these within? Can we practice engagement with these within? Cultivating our own inner awareness, cultivating our truth from the inside, cultivating our own purity and harmony from the inside. From the inside. And then including the outside and others. So those of you who have been studying these and doing our Fusatsu ceremonies, which we did last month, you know that we talk about the three treasures as the things that we are. We have the line in Fusatsu, being one with the Buddha, being one with the Dharma, being one with the Sangha. That's who we are. It names who we are. So now you can see how it all connects with what Dogen meant when he said to study Buddhism is to study the self. We're studying these aspects of ourself. Awareness, truth, harmony, purity. And bodhicitta, the state of mind of the bodhisattva. So this is interesting. The development of the enlightened mind of bodhicitta is the basic goal of Mahayana practice. But it's also the mind that initiates Mahayana practice. So it's the beginning and the end of Mahayana practice. So let's just connect those and say, no beginning, no end. And let's turn the Dharma wheel. So when we have this aspiration, then we kind of get to, so what we have, let me back up a second. What we have here is a kind of landscape of our practice in the three treasures. Okay, it identifies who we are, and it points to, as one teaching put it, it's the where of our practice. It's the where of our practice. And it's also the who of our practice, based on what I just said. We internalize it. Dogen, to study Buddhism is to study the self. So it's kind of the where and the who of our practice. Okay. How about the how? How about the how of our practice? So there's a number of ways, a number of frameworks you could say to look at that. One of them is the Eightfold Path. Okay. Fourth Noble Truth, Eightfold Path. And the other one is the paramitas, bodhisattva, virtues of the bodhisattva. which are also intrinsic virtues of the Bodhisattva, which we possess, which are also the things that the Bodhisattva cultivates. Cultivating intrinsic virtues. Yeah. So I like, I don't know about you, but I find the paramitas to be a more living framework for me in terms of the how, cultivating those qualities of the virtues of the Bodhisattva, and I'll just, say them so that we all know. Yeah, so generosity, ethics, patience, effort, meditation, and wisdom. Yeah. And the Eightfold Path is that matrix, that framework of right view, intention, speech, action, livelihood, understanding, meditation, concentration for wisdom. Okay. Yeah, I'm curious what works best for you. What I like and what I'll offer is kind of our template for you to explore how you'd like to be practicing. Will be the three treasures, and then you can think about cultivating virtues of the Bodhisattva. And I think by next week, I think I'm going to have perhaps a framework of practicing those things more explicitly. Yeah. Bodhicitta. Yeah, I think I'm going to wrap up. There's more we can say about it, but I think I want to hear more about what you have to say about it. Yeah, I want to encourage everyone here to take advantage of this opportunity to practice all together with great seriousness and with great intent and with great commitment. When you commit to this path, I really want to bring out the path aspects of our work together here. We have a real vibrant Sangha right now. It's gotten more and more participation and people coming in, and there's very much of a critical mass in the group right now. That's been developing over the last few years, that there's a lot of juice flowing through the Sangha right now. It's really, really great. And I'd love everybody to step into it with intent and with commitment. And we really amplify each other's practice beautifully, and very rapidly. We accelerate, our development is amplified and accelerated dramatically when we practice together in a group. And some groups are too big, and some groups are maybe too small, but some groups can be too big. And there's almost more, questions and disconnects and hierarchies and power struggles and things like that enter into it. And we are close to the perfect size here, I think. If we get to another size that doesn't feel perfect, we're going to make it perfect. Never say never, right? All right. But there's a real depth of practice with those of you who've been practicing for a long time that I'm very grateful for, and I really want to lean into and continue to develop and to continue to broaden and widen, for us and for others to come in and practice. So here at the beginning of the year, to give yourself some intent in terms of how you want to proceed, how you want to develop. And I think in these three areas, if you're precise about that, your commitments in these areas, I think will give you a good framework for that. And for those of you who are practicing with me as students, I want to hear that. I want to hear that directly from you. Okay, whether you share it next week or you don't necessarily have to do it in public, but as I see you in Dokusan, I'll be asking you about what you have in mind with your practice. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm psyched. I'm psyched. I'm ready to jump back into practice with the group and keep going and keep deepening. It's a wonderful time to be alive. I hope you feel that way too. Thanks for your attention.